Hello everybody, welcome back to Waffles RC. We're going to get back onto the RV that we were working on last week, that we will continue to be working on. But first, it came in and I want to show you guys. It is the new shirt. So on the back we have the classic Waffles RC. But the front is what I am personally most proud of. See, you don't need to see me. So that is the design that I came up with. The original 3D printer is what it says, and obviously picture of somebody welding. I came up with that. I think it is awesome. The quality actually came out really good. I'm happy with how it came out, and I think you guys will be as well. So if you want to get one for yourself, many different colors, not just black, and different sizes, and it ships worldwide. So if you want to get one for yourself, go on to Etsy, Waffles RC merch, right here. If you go onto there, place yourself an order, get yourself a fun shirt, even if you're not into RCs. That's really funny, and I like it. So get yourself a shirt. All the proceeds go into these crazy builds that I do, like the semi, this RV, an all-metal boat. It just keeps the builds coming on this channel. So please go and get yourself a shirt. And for those wondering, very few, but once the shirt comes in for my wife, I will also put onto the Etsy store some women's shirts. So if there are women here watching, you can have a shirt that is styled for women. It was not picked out by me, it was picked out by her. So it will be a good quality shirt and a good fitting shirt for the female RC enthusiast, or for the female RC enthusiast wives, girlfriends, sisters, whatever. There'll be stuff for girls too. Let's get to the RV. All right, so this is where we left it off last time. So now what we're going to do first is get the cab back on there, because I may have to do some clearance for the front coilovers through the hood, but I need this back on here so I can get the transmission and transfer case mounted without hitting our interior. Once again, it is up pretty high, so I think I'm going to have plenty of room. And I do have room also to trim out a little bit right here if I even need to, but we'll see. So let's get that onto there and then start guessing for a transmission. Oh, and a servo. So I'll have to take a servo off of something else because I don't have a servo for this particular truck just yet. So I have to steal one to be able to measure everything correctly. But first, let's just get the cab on. So that was a very quick time lapse, because apparently my guessing work is actually quite good, because I don't know how well you can see, but it just barely clears in there. Now, does that mean I won't have to cut the hood to try and get this thing to sit down a little bit lower depending on weight? It's a possibility, but for now we're just going to keep going, because I think the weight is going to sit this thing down pretty far. So we'll just keep adding weight and see if we have to make adjustments from there. That's why I don't finalize anything right now. It's all just guesswork until all the weight is on, then do final adjustments as necessary. And you can see we have the pop top camper mobile. Someone in the comments did mention basically doing lock nuts on these back ones, but then making essentially a quick disconnect and leaving this as this is how I would be able to get into service or work on anything, or to get the cab off without having to take this whole thing off. So that will be happening now. Let's get to measuring and figuring out where to put our transmission. But first we have to do a servo. Like I said, I need to steal one. So let me find a unwilling victim to take a servo off of. I don't know which one to do. I took the servo off of the trailer already. Stole that. All right, give me a minute, I'll be right back. Okay, I found our victim, and this is actually going to stay in the RV. the particular victim that lost its servo, the new mud truck. But I didn't take the steering servo, I took the trailer hitch, because as you guys saw in the last video, or the video before that, as you guys saw in a video, the new mud truck can't really tow very well. So a mistake on my part, a bit of an oversight, but that does leave us now with a servo, which is perfect, and no more trailer hitch on the mud truck. So now I can turn the mud truck back up and not have it at 10% power just so it can sort of tow a boat. The RV will have a crawler motor, so it will be able to tow. So this was fun, didn't work out. And sometimes fabricating, that's what happens. You experiment, you try. I know I can do it now, so it's a learning lesson there. I know I can do a retractable trailer hitch, just not with a giant mud truck. So let me get this mounted in that, and then we can continue on with our progress. So I know it looks funky, but that's because that's where it's set. Well, that right there is about where it's supposed to sit. But we have to put our steering servo in. Now, when you are custom fabricating, you're going to want to mount this in such a way, the steering arm on here, to be the same length as your track bar. And you also want it to be on the same angle as your track bar. So that way you don't get bump steer, it doesn't drive weird. When it articulates, these will go at the same rate, not changing your turning angle. So even when you're, completely flexed out like that, or like that, your steering angle will stay exactly straight. That's what the track bar does. So you need it to be the same length and on the same angle. So I will try to math that out real quick, and I'll show you when I have it all together, I'll show you what I mean by parallel with each other and the same length. I know you guys understand it, but this is for people that don't. Got the steering servo in there. So what I was talking about, having these equal length, I have them close enough to the equal length that I have of stuff that I have here, but they're on relatively the same plane. So that way, when the suspension travels up and down, the wheels don't turn. They stay straight the whole time, because the axle's moving side to side, but the track bar, that's what it's doing, is moving it side to side, keeping the steering centered at all times. So that is how you set up a track bar steering setup. So now, is this absolutely perfect? No. It could be better. Not even going to try and hide it. But this is the best that I could do as of right now. I need to order more parts, but I can get this much better than it is right now. But we are good for now on that. So now we have to do our transmission and transfer case. So I personally like the forward mount transmissions. This is a different style one than I normally order. It's the glow backed. I don't know. It's that. I like the forward mount styles, so that way I can run transfer cases. Now this came with a transfer case, a skid, all sorts of stuff that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use this transfer case, which is the same one that's in both of my mud trucks. I really like this transfer case. It looks very scale, but it's been a very robust transfer case, so I'm going to just keep running it. I have not had a single issue with one of these as long as you grease them and Loctite them. So I'm going to run that and not the one that it came with, because it's too tall. I don't even know where it is. Here it is. I'll take it out for you. I'll be somewhat nice about it. This is the transfer case that it came with. You have a single input with your two outputs, and no, you can't. You can change it by the looks of it. Probably different gear ratios or different rotation. My guess is different gear ratios. But what I didn't want is this one being as tall as it is. That's why I wanted this one because we have an interior that we have to worry about. So that's why I'm going to run this one. But this means spare parts. Never throw anything away. So I have a spare transfer case for something else. But I have to get ready for a live, which means I have to get all this metal out of here so I can get my computer. So, by the way, we do lives usually every Sunday. It's pretty much average. We're doing it every single Sunday. Sometimes we'll miss it. You'll see enough. If you have notifications turned on, you'll see a notification on Sunday. Sorry, I said Saturday. Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I'm in California. So you're more than welcome to come and join, but I have to go get ready for that. So we'll get to this after that. All right, so we're back. Had a really fun live, but now we're on this thing again. So trying to mount the transmission. And while we did the live, I finished the interior and painted the cab. I've already touched it, so I ruined it. But this is a satin finish, and I wanted more of a shiny finish. So not overly concerned about it right now. It'll still cure and dry. Then I'll sand it again and add a gloss white onto it just when everything's properly done. But what I've been doing is trimming out the interior to tuck the transmission up high enough and in the right location inside of the frame, basically. So I don't have a motor for it either, but I've measured the motor that I'm going to use because, well, I have a lot of them. I know where this can go, where the motor can still mount to it and clear the steering servo. So I'm going to get this mounted in here. I did have to use the devil's tape. Get that mounted in, then get on the transfer case. We'll just do a quick time lapse and knock this thing out. So it's been a couple days since that time lapse, and let me show you what I did, because I ran out of time and needed to go inside. Cab comes off. I did have to take out the whole pedal assembly piece. It did look really cool, but as you can see, I needed some clearance. But even still, I mean, that's most of it interior. You can barely see it. I think I get scale points for that. I'm sure I could go back in and make something to cover it up later, but whatever. So the things that you haven't seen. Got the transmission mounted. I also got the transfer case mounted, and I have drive shafts, at least those two, from the transmission and down to the front axle. Obviously the rear axle has a bit of distance to cover. So since this is going to be a very long distance to travel, I do have a carrier bearing. I can't find it right now, but I know I have one. Oh, I thought I saw it. I did not. We will get a carrier bearing in there, then measure for those two drive shafts. One thing I am noticing is that the body seemed like it was tapered a little bit, but it turns out it's not. So I'm going to cut these since they're only tacked on and just move them that way, or bring the back sides in, because the front's good, it's the back, so I just need to pinch them in a little bit. While custom fabbing, you will run into issues like that. You thought you did it right, turns out I didn't do it right. That is going to be it, unfortunately, for this video. Obviously, since it's been a couple of days and I haven't done anything, the next steps that I have, other than the carrier bearing and the drive shafts, the next steps is I want to start working on this and what I have planned for this. But that is quite extensive, and I only had realistically a few hours to work on this thing last weekend. So because of that, this coming weekend, we're going to focus on this and get the fun stuff in here, so that way we can start getting some sheet metal on this and making it look like a camper. I have fun plans for stuff that's going to go on here, and I really hope they work. Once again, this is all experimenting, so I have no idea. Once again, I'm going to plug myself. If you want to go get yourself a shirt, there are a bunch of different colors. Be greatly appreciated. Also, the other bit of news is that I did get the second channel up and running. So as of right now, for if you're watching this video, if you go and look, I'll put a picture of it right here and the name right here. It's called Waffles RC Off the Bench. It is basically the stuff that we do with the big cars. We have one video so far. It was fun, and you guys will get to see the stuff that I do that isn't RC stuff, and kind of where I get my knowledge of how to build these things a little bit. I'm not perfect at it, but it helps to know. So if you like full-size stuff, there's going to be stuff over on that channel, because obviously the full-size stuff doesn't do all that well on this channel, because this is about RCs. So if you want to go check it out, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It's not going to be weekly videos like this, because I work full-time. I can't film two separate contents. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. And we will see you next week when we actually make this thing look like a camper. Thank you.